Hi, happy Friday. We made it to the end of another week. I am sure you are just as happy about that as I am. Last week, I promised I would share something with you, but first, I want to share with you a story about me from my childhood. When I was a kid, I wasn't exactly what I would call a happy child. I mean, I was at times when things were fine, when things were good, when things went my way, then I was happy. But when things didn't go my way, then I was not happy. I was actually very irritable and cranky. I was in a bad mood. My mom used to call me crabby. She would call me a crabby Appleton, and she would say, "We don't want to talk to you or play with you when you're like this, so you need to go to your room and you can come out and you can be a nice girl." And that just meant as long as I could be neutral, as long as I wasn't unpleasant to be around, I could come out of my room. And I got to decide when I got to come out. Didn't matter if it took 2 minutes or 2 hours, that was up to me. The problem was, I didn't know how to control it, and I didn't think that I could. I would sit in my room pouting, and I would be in such a bad mood, and it did not feel good. It actually really sucked. But I would sit there for sometimes over an hour before things would finally start to calm down, and I was able to come out because then I was at least not being offensive towards anyone or cranky towards anybody. I didn't know how to deal with it, and I didn't think that I could. And then one day, one hot summer, I believe it was a Saturday because my dad wasn't working, my parents decided to do something special and they took me and my sisters to the movie theater, which was a really big occasion. It was a really fun thing. We went to the movies. I don't recall what the movie was, but I remember that I really liked the movie and it was a great day. There were always great things about it. And when the movie was over and the credits were rolling, the theater was emptying out and it wasn't that crowded, but the theater was emptying out. My mom and dad and my sisters are walking towards the center aisle, and I just sat rooted to my spot because for some strange reason I just wanted to watch the credits. I don't know why. It's not like movies now where sometimes you want to watch the very end because there might be a secret little scene at the very end, but you have to watch all the credits to get there. That didn't exist back then, so there was no reason to watch the boring credits. But for some reason, I had it in my head that I wanted to, so I sat there. And when the theater was empty and my parents, my sisters are still waiting at the end of the aisle, and I'm still sitting there, Mom finally said, "Jessica, come on, let's go. We're leaving." And I was instantly in a bad mood. Oh, I was in such a bad mood. I was so mad, so angry. Like, how dare you tell me to get out of this chair? It was actually quite ridiculous. So I got up and I stomped down that aisle, dragged my feet through the lobby and out into the parking lot, walking as slowly as possible because I didn't want to walk with my family. And as that heat from the black asphalt was coming up and radiating off the ground, my mom just slowed her steps so that she was walking right next to me. And without even looking at me, she said something that I will never forget. She said, you can choose to be angry and upset and ruin your whole day. Or you can choose to be happy. It's up to you. You always have a choice. And then she quickened her steps to catch up with the rest of my family and leave me to be alone just to think about it. And it was like a light bulb went off over my head. And I remember thinking, wait, what? I get to choose? You mean I don't have to feel like this? I knew I didn't like feeling that way. I knew it was uncomfortable and it wasn't fun. And the thought that I actually could do something about it was just amazing. And it wasn't like I instantly became a happy child after that. No, it took work and effort. But after that day, I had the awareness to actually think about it in situations and think about how I was reacting to situations and take notice of what I was doing and how it was affecting me and how it was affecting others. And little by little, I became a much happier person and I became a happy kid, a happy person and child, and grew up to be a happy person, and that just became who I was and who I am. And the funny thing was, I kind of forgot about that story until just recently, just a few months ago. Something, I don't even know what it was, triggered that memory. And it all of a sudden hit me, oh my gosh, this is something that I need to be working on with my coaching practice, helping people with. This is something that is so important to me and that I am so passionate about, and it's a central piece of my being. It only makes sense that I need to create a program around this. And the really interesting thing is, there is so much science behind it. It's not this just this fluffy stuff of, oh, I just want to feel better, or I want to be happier. I mean, yes, and that is true. Who doesn't want to feel good and feel happier and be happy most of the time? Of course, we all do. We all know that things are better when we feel happy. But there's more to it than that. In our society, we are taught that when we achieve X, then I'll be happy. Accomplish this, get this, have this, then I'll be happy. The problem with that, though, is you can never really achieve happiness if it's contingent upon a goal. Because then once you achieve that goal, there is some happiness and joy initially. Of course, there always is. But then it tends to fade and the goalposts move, because then there's another goal and another goal and another goal, and we just keep pushing it further out. So happiness becomes this thing far off in the distance that we're always trying to pursue, but don't think we can actually have until I have this, this, or this, till I get that job, that promotion, that house, that special perfect spouse, the car, certain amount of weight, whatever it is. There's all these things that we could think of. Once I get this, I'll be happy. Science has actually proven that is completely backwards, and that it's actually people who are happy first who then achieve greater success in life. And not just success with their career or with their jobs, which is a big piece of it, because people who are happier are more resilient. They are more productive, more efficient, more effective, better problem-solving skills, better critical thinking, work better with their coworkers and team building. So those are the individuals who are more likely to get better jobs and promotions and have greater job satisfaction too with whatever they're doing, whether it's a high-paying job or not. That doesn't usually even tie into it. Just greater job satisfaction overall, whatever it is that they're doing. But it's not just career that being happier positively impacts. Also relationships, marriages, health, so many things. It's happiness at the core first. And then ripple effects of positivity go out into the rest of the person's life. It's quite remarkable, and this has been proven through hundreds and hundreds of research studies, and it's so incredible. So I created a program. I call it Upward Spiral, the Raise Your Happiness Baseline 90-day program. It's 12 sessions, and it's centered on neuroscience and positive psychology, with that as the premise. See, we all have a happiness baseline. Some people are really high, some people may be down low, and a lot of people are somewhere in between. And science used to think that once you got to be a certain age, somewhere in the teens, I believe, that it was fixed, that it could not be changed. And whatever you had, you were stuck with. So if you have one that's kind of low, you're basically screwed. But science has proven that that is completely not true. That is very changeable, in fact, and that through work and practice and effort, you can raise your happiness baseline and do so at a permanent level, so that when you do have bad experiences or bad days or bad times, which we all do, we are all going to have those emotions of anger, frustration, overwhelm, sadness. Those are all normal and natural, and there are appropriate times to feel those. What we don't want is to live there. We don't want that to be our baseline. So we can raise the happiness baseline so that when you do experience those bad things, you do dip down, but you don't dip down as low as before. And you rebound because you're more resilient much faster and farther, because you're just operating at a higher level. It's just remarkable, and it's so great. So that is what my new program is that I have been working on creating, and I'm very excited about it. So if that sounds interesting to you, possibly for yourself or from someone that you know, just reach out and I'd be happy to chat. Have a wonderful day and a great weekend.